What happens at my naturalization interview? Hi, I'm Jim Hacking, immigration lawyer practicing law throughout the United States out of our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. This is going to be a fun video because we're going to talk about the very top of the immigration ladder. You've done everything right. You did everything you needed to become a lawful permanent resident. You've waited enough time, either 3 years if you're married to a U.S. citizen or 5 years if you are not, and you're applying for citizenship. You have filled out that application. You have paid that application fee. You put in all the information correctly. You submitted all the evidence of your good moral character. You have been fingerprinted, and you finally get your naturalization interview notice. And you want to know what's going to happen. What can I expect? What should transpire at my naturalization interview? Here we go. So most field offices, you're going to have to go through security. They're going to want to see your naturalization interview letter. You will show that to them. You will then go through security, and there'll probably be some check-in process. Different places do it differently. Busy places have several different windows where you'll wait your turn to go up and check in. They might take your picture and take your biometrics. If it's a particularly well-developed and busy office, they're going to make sure that you are who you say you are, and then they're going to tell you to go wait. And eventually an officer is going to come out and call you. Different places do it differently. In San Antonio, Texas, for instance, they just call out a number that you've been assigned. Most places, the officer is going to come out and yell your last name. So you need to be listening, and you could be waiting a little while. The officer might have a case ahead of yours that dragged on, or they might have needed the chance to review your application before they call you in. But eventually they're going to say your name, and when you come into the office, they're going to say, "Hi, my name is Officer Brown. I'll be conducting your naturalization interview today. Can I see your green card and your driver's license, please?" They're going to check to make sure that your address matches where you say it that you live on your N-400. They're going to check your green card. They're going to probably copy both of those documents. They'll probably copy the biographic page on your passport. Then they'll give you those documents back, either right then or at the end of the interview. Most officers like to start by getting the civics part and the English part out of the way. So typically what we see is an officer saying, "I'm going to start with the civics exam." They're going to ask 10 questions. And once you get 6 correct answers, that test will be over and you will have passed that part. Then typically they'll ask you to read a sentence on an iPad. It'll say something like, "Who lives in the White House?" And then they'll ask you on that iPad to use their little stylus and write out, "The president lives in the White House. The president lives in the White House." And they'll say it twice like that. It might be some different sentence, but you get the gist of that. So once you've done that correctly, you move on. So you're done with the testing. You're done with the civics and English, and now it's time to get to the N-400 itself. So now at this point, they're going to spend time going over your application. So in the weeks leading up to your interview, I suggest you read over your N-400 once or twice a day. It won't take you long, maybe 10 minutes, but to do it every day so you can get used to reading the questions. If you have a loved one who could read you the questions, that's even better, because this question and answer is going to be done orally. They're going to be asking you questions from their mouth to your ears, and you're going to have to reply. So it's better to hear that stuff out loud because there are a lot of strange words on the N-400. They're going to want to know your full legal name. They're going to want to know any other names that you've used. They're going to want to know if you want to change your name. If you're changing your name, that might make things a little complicated. Some field offices have same-day naturalizations or administrative naturalizations, but if you change your name, usually that has to be done by a federal judge, which means it's going to push back your naturalization. You won't get naturalized that day, and you'll have to wait for the next judicial naturalization ceremony so that you can change your name. All right, so then they're going to get to your history as a green card holder. When did you get your green card? Did you register for selective service if you were a young man between the ages of 18 and 26? They're going to want to know about trips that you've taken. So any trips that you've had outside the United States for more than 6 months, those can be problematic because you might have break your continuous residence. You might have stayed outside of the United States too long. So if you have any trips over 6 months, that's going to be a problem. You're going to have to prove up that you did not abandon your residency, that you maintained your residency here in the United States. But they're going to go over all your trips, and they've gotten much better and much more sophisticated at knowing when you left. I had a client recently who went to their interview and they had just taken a trip, and the officer already knew about it even before we brought it up. So that was interesting. So I would say they have a much more expansive knowledge of your trips. So you're going to have to talk about that. Then they're going to get to the gist of the case, and that is any reasons why you shouldn't be able to naturalize. So any mistakes that you've made, any problems with the law that you've had since you got your green card might keep you from becoming a U.S. citizen. So they're going to ask you all kinds of questions. They're going to ask you about any arrests, any citations, any times that you stood before a judge. They're going to want to know about any immigration violations that you've had in your past, any lies you've ever told an immigration official. They're going to ask you all those crazy questions like, have you ever helped someone sneak into the United States? Have you ever dealt in controlled substances? Have you ever been a member of any group that uses terror against other people, genocide, any of those things? So you'll get in a sort of a rhythm, hopefully, of saying no, no, no to all those. If you have any citations or any criminal convictions, you're going to want to bring all that. They're also going to want to make sure that you paid all your taxes on time. So they're going to look at your tax history. If you have your tax transcripts, that would be handy. Then finally, they're going to get to the questions regarding whether or not you support the Constitution, whether you would be there to support the United States in times of war or famine or any kind of strife. Then they're going to want to know, what does it mean to be a good U.S. citizen? So make sure you're able to answer that question. Then they'll tell you, they'll have you review any changes that they made to your form. Don't freak out if they've edited your answers. That's sort of what the interview is all about, is updating your answers, making sure everything is correct. And then finally, they're going to let you know the results. So they might say they're recommending it for approval. They might say they have to talk to a supervisor. If you have any kind of criminal matters, most likely they're going to need to talk to the supervisor. So don't be disappointed if you don't get a decision that day. They might give you what's called a checklist or a request for evidence, where they say, hey, I'd really like to approve this, but I need to see what happened with this ticket you had back in 2021, and you have to go get it and submit it to them before they approve it. So this is what you can expect at your naturalization interview. Usually should be pretty quick. If you have not gotten in any trouble since you got your green card, you should sail right through. I tell people all the time two things. Number one, if you got your green card and you've kept your nose clean, you're most likely going to get your citizenship. But at the same time, I also tell them that citizenship is their last chance to deport you. So if you have anything in your past that's hidden, that they didn't know about, and it comes out at your naturalization interview, that might keep you from not only getting your citizenship, but also perhaps losing your green card. So you always need to think about that if you're thinking about going through the naturalization process. Am I risking more than I have if I don't think I'm going to get my naturalization case approved, and I could potentially lose my green card? That's really when you want to start talking to an immigration lawyer to make sure you get the best decision about whether to file. So sometimes the best decision when it comes to naturalization is to not file at all. So if you're thinking about naturalizing and you'd like our help, our firm, to assist you through that process, give us a call at 314-961-8200. Email us info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com. If you're just looking for free resources, nothing wrong with that. We have the Immigration Answer Show, which is a show that I do 3 or 4 times a week. I do it live. I go for an hour on YouTube and Facebook, answering as many immigration questions as I can. And we also have our Immigrant Home Facebook group, which you can find us and join there. We have thousands of members in there talking about the immigration process. We also have our YouTube channel itself, where I post 2 or 3 new videos a week talking about immigration topics just like this one. Finally, for the fun stuff that we do, you can check us out on TikTok at Immigration Hacking, where we try to take a lighter tone when it comes to USCIS. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.